like I had been ripped away from the process. You can see from someone's eyes whether what you're talking about is not of interest to them. Be able to tell if a person wasn't having a good day for some reason. Even if someone above you isn't involved in your day-to-day operations, they need to be involved. But when you get ready to answer the question, you may not be 100% sure what they asked. Fulfillment that I want of helping people just blossom.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Inspirational Interviews. My next guest is someone who's been a personal mentor to me. Someone who is a perfect example of service leadership, a true mentor, and somebody who's always empathetic to you. 2 times district governor, 2 times district international speech contest winner and evaluation contest winner, Meg Claxton. I'm sure you'll love the insights and tips provided by her. So here is her interview. Success is a journey, not a destination. So good morning, afternoon, evening, people who will be watching this video. I am so privileged and honored to have one of my mentors joining me for this inspirational interviews. Yes, you heard it right. There's no more Instagram inspiration. It's going to be inspirational interviews where I'll be using Zoom or other technologies to record and then upload on my channels. Thank you so much, Meg, for joining this. I'm so honored.
Thank you.
All right. So Meg, in this series that I am doing, and this is the 16th episode of this, I actually bring people who have inspired me in some or other way in life, learned something from them, and I like to talk to them about their life journey, what were their failures, successes, and things like that. And hopefully that gives people some things to work upon, some things to learn about, and it's a very selfish reason. I want to know more about you. So
okay.
Yeah. So let me start by asking you, can you give us a brief summary about your life journey, what all things you've done? It's going to be difficult, but yeah.
Okay. I'll try and be succinct. I am the oldest of 6. I have 4 brothers and 1 nearly perfect sister. My first career was teaching school, specifically kindergarten. I was accustomed to herding small children, so it was an easy task to do. Unfortunately, I was started at the tail end of the baby boom and the time that professional women decide to put their children, having babies, off later in their career. And so I taught only 7 years. During that time, I went back to a community college here in the States to figure out what else could I do besides teaching. I went back to the University of Michigan and got my MBA with emphasis in computer information systems. I had several careers after that. One of the ones that I think helped me particularly in Toastmasters is that I did software demonstrations. In those days, we had to dial back into a server. It was just after AT&T had been broken up by the United States government. So often when I had my program showing, I would get garbage on the screen, static, things like that. Sometimes I could be in the middle of an auditorium and in the middle of my presentation and the line would suddenly drop. And so I had to continue talking, dial back in, get to where I was, answer questions, whatever was going on. After that, I joined Eli Lilly and Company in their computer information system area and loved every job I had with Eli Lilly and Company. It's a great company. But the story I told you, I think, really helped me with Toastmasters. because when I joined Toastmasters and they only wanted me to speak in front of people and not do a demonstration of software, not have to dial in the same time that I'm speaking, it was easy. The reason I joined Toastmasters was to learn how to speak succinctly. So table topics are the reason. So to be able to start with the question and stick to no more than 3 pieces of information and finish up. Previous to that, I would start answering a question and think, you probably need this background information here, and this background information here, and this background. By the time I got finished, the person was usually totally disinterested and I hadn't answered the question. So to answer your question, that gives you an idea of the kinds of things I've done during my life.
Thank you so much. That's so interesting. And in my 2 years when I was in India, I learned a lot from you, and I'm still learning. So how you talked about you joined Toastmaster, but how exactly did you come across Toastmaster?
My younger brother, and I've got 4 of them, he had joined Toastmasters at the time that my company that I was working for at the time had paid for me to take a Dale Carnegie course, which I enjoyed, in which you have professional people giving evaluations. I was a little concerned when he said members of the club give evaluations to other members. I thought, how professional can that be? But it did interest me. When I joined Anthem or Blue Cross Blue Shield, they had a Toastmasters club that met on Friday mornings at 7 o'clock in the morning. Way too early for me. After about a year, they moved it to lunches on Wednesday. I thought that's a good time. I can see there. The first time that I went to the club, I joined the club because I was very impressed with the format and with the members giving the evaluations. That was in August. Our club elected officers every 6 months. I was president by January, and by July 1st, I was the area director.
Wow, that's interesting. And I know you have achieved so much in Toastmasters, and would you give us a highlight of all the great achievements you have? I may not have all the information, so.
Because I focused so much on leadership when I first started Toastmasters, I think it took me at least 3 years, maybe longer, to get my first CC. For the Pathways people, that's the first 10 speeches. After that, I continued on the path that was set up in the legacy education system, eventually getting my DTM, not because I had set that as a goal, but because I happened to help someone do 2 different speech crafts. So I had that I could do. I also helped someone set up a new club. I was requested to ask. So a lot of things just came to me, and so I achieved my first DTM. Just this past month, by June 30th, I was able to get my second DTM. So focusing on the DTMs has not necessarily been part of my goal. I have enjoyed also, on the education standpoint, I have taken part in lots of speeches contests, and lots of those were because no one else in the club volunteered. So I have won our district's evaluation contest twice. I have won our district's international speech contest, and at those times we went on to a regional conference where we had to have a second speech, and I came in 3rd place there. On the leadership side, I also had no plans to get involved with the top 3. When I was at Lilly, I ended up being the host because we had club officer training twice a year at Lilly, and so I interacted with the trios a great deal, and I was asked to think about it. But then a situation came up where someone was in the middle position and was not going to be able to go forward, and so it seemed like the right thing to do for me to move into that position. So I was the program quality director although we had different names at that time, and then the district director. I continued after that as what we called the district administrative assistant. So I would be on the conference calls taking notes. I also did a lot of the other stuff, organized all the trophies for our contests, lots of different kinds of things. Several years later, we unfortunately had a person who had an aortic aneurysm and was in the hospital. Monday before our TLI, our Toastmasters Leadership Institute, all the information, all the evaluation forms, everything was at his house. He was a single guy and lived about 2 hours from me. So our district director said, Meg, can you get this organized? So I got things organized for the TLI and then continued in his role. Unfortunately, about 6 weeks after that, he passed away. I assumed that the person who was in the third position usually just pops up to the top. But she said, you know, I have a master's in adult education. I was really looking forward to doing the middle position. You can just be district director again. And so I actually was the last district governor because it was after that that they changed the names. So I've been district director twice, once by choice and once with just the right thing to do.
Thank you. So you've been district director twice, speech contest winner, evaluation contest winner at district levels. Amazing. Thank you so much. And I know when I was there and I was preparing for my speech contest, you have been so patiently listening to, let's say not so good speeches of mine and giving me all the suggestions to improve. So thank you so much. So Meg, next I want to ask you about, and this is not specific to Toastmaster, is that a lot of people like to boast about their success, but I like to ask people about their failures and what were their learning. So any one or two failures that you had and what did you learn?
I have a couple of them that come to mind right away. When I was working for Anthem or Blue Cross Blue Shield, I was in charge of their external help desk. So doctors' offices and hospitals would call us because they had to submit their claims electronically to us. And then about 2 hours later, they could dial back in and get a report that would show all the claims that had been submitted. And there was little characters if they hadn't been, something was missing or something. It was the first time that I had been involved with a help desk. I loved it. I really loved it. And you're really autonomous. You're the one that has to figure out what's going on, how to schedule people, who needs some extra help, all those kinds of things. And my management above me is extremely supportive. The management above him, not so much. So we had the opportunity to bring on a whole new group of people that would be outside the state of Indiana. In fact, it was 10 states that were coming in. And so I worked diligently for about a year getting everything prepared. When it actually happened, obviously there was crunches. There are people that complain they weren't getting response fast enough and those kind of things, which will always happen when you roll something out. Right. But my direct manager had been moved to something else and I was reporting to the VP. He was in a meeting and told all of us that there'll be all vacations had to be canceled. This is very important, things like that. But I had been in an autonomous position, and so I was able to make my own decisions. One of my folks had already made reservations, plane reservations to go on vacation. And the way that the process was happening, we would not be impacted during that time. It was going to be a little bit later down the road, maybe another week or so. Mm-hmm. So I told her, sure, she could go on vacation. When he found out, he was very, very upset. I had some ramifications in my job due to that. What I learned from that is that even if someone above you isn't involved in your day-to-day operations, They need to be involved if you choose to go contrary to what they have said. I think what he wanted to do, because he happened to like that person, I think he wanted to have the credit of saying, yes, even though I told everybody they can't do vacations, you, my dear, I'm going to allow you. And I took that away from him by just saying, sure, you can do it, because I knew it wouldn't affect us. So that's one of the things I really learned, is to make sure that when a directive is given on high, that if there's anything that needs to be changed, that you verify with that person as to whether they think that that would be okay. So that's probably the most painful one that I had, because what he chose to do is transfer me out of that position and to work with another group that was also involved with this. And I hadn't finished what I was planning to do. I had just got into disease recovery and a few other things. And so I felt like I had been ripped away from the process and the people that I was so involved with. And that's probably my best learning.
That's a great learning, I think. Yeah, that's for all of us to learn. Yeah. So if you're going against the wind, consult your boss. Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. So let's talk about the elephant on the world, COVID-19. So how has COVID-19 impacted or changed your lives? And what are the things that you have been up to in the last few months?
Obviously, it's a very, very sad thing, because people have lost their lives, and many people who have had it, my understanding, are still having effects of it. And so it's awful. When we first were in a shutdown situation, I was really pleased, because I overcommit all the time. Someone needs some help, I'll say, sure, I'd be happy to help you out. So I made a list of things that I wanted to do every day. So for an hour, I wanted to do cross stitch, which I have right here. And I have a grandson getting married in November, and I'm doing a wedding. And then I wanted to also work on my office that has got a lot of Toastmasters things that need to be organized. So that was going to be another hour. And then I had another project to do. We had different things we wanted to put siding on our house, which we did. And so I had to get vendors and different kinds of things like that. So I had things that I wanted to do. But then I discovered through Joann's, which is a local place for us to get material, that we needed to make masks. And so I have made probably over 125 masks. And I have had a great time doing it, because they're just not plain. One of my grandsons, who lives on land and they have cows, I was able to have a scrap material that looked like a cow's shape of white with the black on it. So he got one of those. My daughter, who is his mom, has one that's green and white gingham, that's checked. Green is her favorite color. And it has daisies on it and John Deere, and that's her. So I've been able to find pieces of material that I have, or I did go out and buy some to make masks for people. And I'm happy to hear that according to the studies that have been done, the homemade masks that have 3 layers, the front, the back, and an interface in between, are one of the best ones you can get for not receiving COVID and not giving it out. So in between all those, I still am working on the cross stitch and also cleaning my office and getting a lot done. I am right now putting together all the information. I've organized the district's spring and fall conferences for a number of years, probably since 2007. And so I now have all that information organized by division. I'm going to put together a spreadsheet for the next project, and need to give that to the current trio, because they have decided that they want to make sure that the trio is involved with doing that kind of investigation. Fine, I give you all the information. So COVID-19 has been okay for me because I've often have said to myself as I looked at my home office, if I only made the time, I could clean this up fairly quickly. Well, it hasn't been quickly, but I have cleaned up quite a bit of it, and I'm continuing on that path. So it hasn't affected me that much. I'm also retired, so I am home more often. Probably the most disappointing thing was my gym was closed. I make myself do exercise. It is not something I want to do. I like to sit, read, cross stitch, knit, do Sudokus. I love sitting. So I make myself swim, do weight exercise, and either yoga or Pilates for flexibility and balance. And that was also closed, so I had lots more time, but now I'm back to that. It is open, and it does feel good to be able to do that.
Very nice. I think you have made the best use of this lockdown to say, yeah. I think it would have been really emotional for you also to make something so interesting for your family members of their choices and finding them get that and get excited about that. So, yeah. All right. So now we are coming towards the end of it, and this is one question I ask my every interviewee is that what would be 2 to 3 tips that you want to give to any young professional, be it Toastmaster, non-Toastmaster, who are about to start their journey? What would be something that would be helpful to them in their journey?
Well, first of all, of course, join Toastmasters. But we'll take that as a given. One of the first things as a business person that we should do, and we learn this in our table topics, which is our impromptu speaking, is to repeat the question. I have been in many business meetings where a person takes a good 5 minutes to ask a question because they have a backstory, and it could be this, it could be that, it could be that. And so when you get ready to answer the question, you may not be 100% sure what they asked. So the best thing to always do is repeat the question. And a person who's taken that much time to say, I believe what you've asked is da 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 da. And then if it's not, you can get corrected right away. And if it is, I think it helps the person who asked the question to realize succinctly what they have asked. So I think that's an important business thing to do. And also, of course, with our table topics, finish with the question. So at the end to say, I believe this answers your question of blah, 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 blah. Or if they've asked you how you feel, say, this is how I feel about blah, 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 blah. So I think that's one of the most important things that any business person can do.
I think this would also be applicable for people giving interviews and probably in any impromptu communication. I think that would be really helpful.
That's right. I think it's really difficult for introverts, but as extroverts, we look at the people we're talking to. And I would encourage introverts to do that because you can see from someone's eyes whether what you're talking about is not of interest to them. Kind of shut off. And so then you would know, let me stop here and say, am I going down the right path? Do you need some explanation? Do you need something? So all of us, but particularly introverts, because I know it's not natural, to look directly into people's eyes and to see what they're thinking. I think that would be the second point. I think that's really good. My third one comes from a position of management, but there have been many jobs where I was not management, but acted the same way. And that's taking care of the people in your group. As a manager, I would wander around my group first thing in the morning to see how they were doing. If I had known something was going on the day before, they had to run home early to pick up a sick child from school or something, I'd ask about that. Different kinds of things like that. But I could also, because I did that daily, be able to tell if a person wasn't having a good day for some reason. And I would say, are you feeling all right? So when you have someone, be nice if it's your manager, but somebody else in the group that has concern about you, it makes you want to stay with that group. It makes you understand that there are people out there in the world that care. I think it also brings together that cohort of people.
Mm-hmm.
Other people see that example, and they may say to someone at lunchtime, geez, you're just not looking as good today. Is there something wrong? And so then there becomes more concern of everybody to make sure that everybody is doing a good job.
Right.
Not that they're worried necessarily about having overflow from that person's job, but just concern for them as human beings. So I think the third one is to just be concerned or cognizant of your peers, or if you're in a supervisory position, certainly the people who work for you. The result is going to be a really awesome team because they do care for each other and they're going to help each other out. And if you're the management, you're going to look really good because your team is functioning so well. How's that?
That's amazing. So what I learned was, number one is how to do impromptu talking and start with the question, clarify what exactly is being asked, and then end on the same that, okay, is that what you were asking? Second is about talking to people, look into their eyes to see whether they're really interested or they just have to stand there and probably go through that. And I think the last and I think the most important is having connections with the people, whether you work, whether you are a part of same community, whether you're part of same voluntary organization, have that real connection. When we care for each other, we actually grow. Thank you so much, Meg. This was beautiful.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Anything else? I probably want to say one more thing about mentoring, Haritosh.
Oh, yeah.
The reason I stay in Toastmasters is for mentoring. It is so exciting to see someone join Toastmasters who is so terrified. They're holding on to the lector and they're shaking. As George Carlin said, most people would prefer to be the stiff in the box, the dead person, rather than the person giving the eulogy, because we are so afraid. It's our number one fear of talking in front of people.
Right.
Once you are able to do that in the comfort and security of a Toastmasters meeting, your confidence starts to grow and grow and grow. By the third or fourth speech, no one can see that you have any nervous habits whatsoever. You may still have butterflies going like crazy inside, but you look so polished. And each time you do that, your confidence grows. So I love being part of encouraging people, particularly when they're brand new, or in your case, when they're stepping out of their boundaries. So winning a speech contest at the club means that you have to now do it at an area level in front of people that you don't know, and not quite the security that you've had.
Yeah.
Having been to many speech contests, I have picked up lots of tips. And so I like to encourage the people who are stepping out of their comfort zone and to give them some ideas. My philosophy is that when someone takes on a new task, if I'm the one giving them that task or they're choosing, I'd like to give them a point or two to grow on. So if I'm in business and I give them a task, I might say, if it were me, I might contact this person, or I might look in this file, or I might do something, just to give people a direction. Right. But I want them to have the creativity and the drive to be able to solve the problem whatever way works best for them. Same with the speech contest. Give you a couple ideas, you take that information as you did, and you make it your own. Make a few changes until you have a comfort level with the way that it's going. So I think with mentoring, which is so important for Toastmasters, that's the reason I stay. And it's certainly for me, it's the fulfillment that I want of helping people just blossom.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think you have blossomed so many new flowers, so many people, and definitely I'm one of those. I mean, for the record, I still, whenever I'm preparing a new speech, a speech contest, I still send link of my video to Meg to get some clarity, some direction, and every time I share, I get so much nuggets of wisdom. Thank you so much, Meg, for being there always for me.
Anytime.
Thank you so much, Meg, for this wonderful interview. I learned few more things about you, and it's really inspirational to know about your journey. And I'm pretty sure people who will watch this will also love this. So until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep going out of your comfort zone. This is Haritosh. I'll be back with episode 17 with another leader. Take care and God bless.